All right, one more time, guys. All right, here we go. Action. Action. The way Knightfall came about was both Pete and I were working on 2 different screenplays, but we never kind of really connected to the fact that maybe we should sit down together and write a feature film. That actually happened, weirdly enough, when Pete helped me pick up a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade machine from a guy in Maidstone.
So he phoned me up and said, would I help him move it over on a Sunday? And I was very enthusiastic to do so. And as we were driving, we started discussing this story, which Ben had the very bare bones of the story down.
We started talking about a knight and a princess having to travel through a forest, and the forest would be full of like evil creatures. And that's kind of where it went. In that conversation in the van, put the arcade machine on and played that for a good half an hour.
A week later, took me to dinner as a thank you for moving the machine. And when I got there, he opened up this sketchbook and it just had all these notes and drawings of the things that we've been discussing as we've been driving. And he was like, so this script we're working on. I was like, oh, okay, we're working on a script now, which was great.
The sun rises on the last day. If we fail to return the princess before nightfall, the king will hunt us down and execute us.
This type of film it's right up my street. I absolutely love fantasy film. It's kind of why I got into acting. You know, I went to the cinema and I'd watch fantasy films, like for instance Lord of the Rings. I loved that when I was a kid.
When Matt Casey was cast, we rewrote Ramarick, who is now the brother of Yorick, who's played by Daniel Garcia. Yorick is a more experienced knight, and is actually the leader of our 3 knights.
It was very nice, first time sort of meeting the other 2 knights and the princess. And one great opportunity we had was to come up with backstories to these characters. A lot of the time that could be put in place and you just work with that.
Cedric is his best friend, played by Chris Webb.
He's not the brightest button out of the 3 of them. He's Yorick's best friend, and he's a bit like an uncle to Ramarick.
I saw some of the blood and guts last night. That looked really good. I'm looking forward to stabbing someone through the head.
Noel Lawson is somebody I've worked with in the past, and when we were writing the script, I actually had her in mind for the princess.
He said, oh, I've got this script, do you mind having a little look at it? I've got you in mind for the princess. So I got back to Ben, of course, I love it.
Costume designer Gemma Avant was fantastic to work with. Brought some amazing ideas to the look of the film.
She designed costumes for such a huge cast, single-handedly. When we first saw the sketches, we were really excited. Everyone had their very own unique style.
When we brought Gemma on board, we started looking at changing the costume design into more of a mix between contemporary and medieval aesthetic.
Which again, we were rewriting, so we would go back into the script and start putting more modern colloquialisms.
Just like, give it, like, you know, give it something in the, yeah. Or start with your mouth closed, like, there, that's it, go. Great. We shot for 5.5 days in a forest in Somerset.
We had a smallish crew of about 14 people. Even though we had a lot to do, we got through it relatively unscathed.
And I remember the runners running back and forth through this mud without question, without, you know, whinging or question at all.
We're about to have Sammy he's going to hack someone to death. We're not going to see him, but it's just going to be an axe coming down, lots of blood in his face. We're calling this the Evil Dead 2 shot, which there are many Evil Dead 2 shots in this, but it's the Ash cutting off his hand shot.
And action, Sammy. I had so much fun shooting decapitations, body parts being chopped off, and various other gruesome bits and pieces.
Just setting up the blood splat
Yeah.
So
one's
basically,
That's the
as he
original
chops off the leg,
No.
blood's going to split out of there, and it's going to look cool.
I did my death scene where I had my leg cut off by Yorick. Dan wasn't there, so I had my leg cut off, and then I actually doubled as Yorick, cutting the leg off a dummy. So I play Yorick cutting off my leg. That's confusing.
Ready? And action. Pete.
The elation in the crew is terrific, and everyone crowds around the monitor to watch it play back, and it was like Christmas. Not like Christmas. My Christmas isn't usually a bloodbath, but it was like a better Christmas, a Christmas with blood.
I first worked with Tim Haynes back in 2006 when I made a martial arts short film with him called The Audition. And I just love working with Tim. He knows so much about fight choreography, martial arts, weaponry. Tim just brought this whole other element of storytelling to the film because he's very conscientious about what the character needs to say through the fights.
We've been trying to do different styles of fighting for every character, so we're not just going to get boring sword fights, which are predictable. There's going to be a lot of different types of movement, and hopefully some things that people haven't seen before.
Fight training, I love fight training. The fight rehearsals with Tim was brilliant because, like I said, this whole process was more devising rather than just doing what the script said. I liked putting sort of little ideas here and there, and the thing that Tim really liked was the fact that every night had their own kind of style.
Knightfall is very much an action film. So Daniel, Matt and Chris really threw themselves into those fight sequences. They had fake swords, but they did kind of go full pelt. I remember Daniel in particular got a nasty kick to the back of the head, which was done by accident. It wasn't done on purpose.
They were very energetic, and they've got to a point where you almost kind of plateau, and there's a tension on set as well of the fight, and you're trying to kind of carry everything with it. And I may at one point have just kind of lost my focus. Before I know it, a foot's coming sort of towards my face or upper body somewhere, and I was on the floor.
All right, cut. Knightfall is a fantasy action film that we are really, really excited about. We can't wait to make the full feature film. The more people that are behind the project, the more likely we are to find that financing and to go and shoot the full feature.
I couldn't be happy with it. Honestly, it's a dream come true. So I just want to do it again, but bigger and bloodier and dirtier. How's that?
Oh, that's brilliant.
Cut that.
That is brilliant.
I mean, I'm just lying in mud now.